Level 1. Surface. This is where it starts. Calm, bright, familiar. But this is also the only level where you can breathe without help. Everything past this point takes something from you to survive. Level 2. Sunlit Zone. It holds almost all the ocean life you've ever seen. But it's already lying to you. Only about 1% of sunlight makes it down to 200 meters. Red disappears first, then orange, then yellow. By the time you reach the bottom of this zone, the world has gone almost entirely blue. Not because the water is blue, because it already ate every other color. Level 3 Narcosis. This is where the ocean starts working on your brain. Past about 30 meters, most divers begin losing sharpness. It's called nitrogen narcosis. Divers call it the martini effect. The deeper you go, the more nitrogen dissolves into your blood, and the more it acts like a drug. Past 90 meters, on regular air, most divers experience outright hallucinations. The terrifying part isn't the confusion, it's that it feels good. Divers describe it as euphoria, right before they make the mistake that kills them. Level 4, the limit. 130 meters is the wall for almost every recreational diver on Earth. Past it, you need trimix, a custom blend of oxygen, nitrogen, and helium, just to think clearly. In 2014, Egyptian diver Ahmed Gabr went past all of it. He descended to 332.35 meters in the Red Sea. It took him 12 minutes to get down. It took him nearly 15 hours to come back up. 15 hours of decompression stops, one after another, just so his own blood wouldn't kill him on the way home. That's still the deepest a human has ever gone on scuba. Nobody has broken it since. Level 5, Twilight Zone. This is where sunlight officially runs out. Photosynthesis stops working here. No plants, no light from above. The only light left is made by the animals themselves. Fish that glow to hunt. Fish that glow to hide. Down here, illumination isn't decoration. It's a weapon. Level 6, Crush Depth. This is where machines start to fail. During World War II, German U-boats typically imploded somewhere between 200 and 280 meters. Modern nuclear submarines are built stronger, but their estimated crush depth is still usually somewhere in the 600 to 1,200 meter range, depending on the class. The math behind it is simple and brutal. Every 10 meters down adds roughly one more atmosphere of pressure, about 14.7 pounds per square inch. At 300 meters, that's already 30 atmospheres pressing on every surface of the hull. Steel can only argue with that math for so long. In 2023, a very different kind of vessel found its own version of this level. We'll get there. Level 7, the Abyss. Down here, pressure isn't measured in pounds anymore. It's measured in tons. No sunlight has ever touched this place. Not once, not ever. The temperature sits just above freezing, and it never changes. And yet, somehow, things live here. Sea pigs crawl across the mud in slow-moving herds. They're a type of sea cucumber, pink and bloated, and they vacuum up whatever scraps drift down from the world above. Tripod fish balance on long, stiff fins, standing perfectly still on the seafloor for hours, waiting for something to swim close enough to eat. Giant amphipods scavenge through the dark, drawn in by smell alone, because down here, smell is often the only sense that still works. Some of the life at this depth is a single cell, and still large enough to see with your bare eye. Almost nothing here has functioning eyes. There's nothing to see them with anyway. Less than 5% of the food produced near the surface ever survives the journey down to this depth. Everything alive at this level is living on leftovers. Scraps from a world it will never see. Level 8, Graveyard. This is where the Titanic rests. The wreck sits roughly 3,800 meters, about 12,500 feet, below the surface in the North Atlantic. In June 2023, a submersible called Titan set out to show paying passengers that wreck up close. It was rated for dives up to 4,000 meters. About 90 minutes into its descent, at roughly 3,300 meters, its support ship crew heard a faint bang. That was the sound of the hull failing. All 5 people on board were killed instantly. The wreckage was later found scattered about 500 meters from the Titanic's bow. 2 disasters, 1 century apart, resting almost on top of each other. Level 9, Hadal Zone. This zone doesn't exist everywhere on Earth. It only exists inside the deepest ocean trenches, narrow cracks in the seafloor, and nowhere else. Past a certain point, even fish give up. The deepest fish ever recorded is the Hadal snailfish, found on trench walls down to about 8,200 meters. Below that, no fish has ever been found. No backboned animal at all. Scientists believe that somewhere around 8,600 meters, biology itself hits a wall, The cell membranes and enzymes a living body depends on simply stop working properly under that much pressure. It's not that nothing has tried to go deeper. It's that life as we understand it physically cannot. What has survived past that point are things without spines, amphipods, sea cucumbers, single-celled organisms clinging to the dark. And here's the number that should genuinely stop you. Only 12 people, in all of human history, have ever walked on the moon. Only around 27 people ever have reached the deepest trenches on Earth. For decades, the old line was true. More humans had walked on the moon than had reached the bottom of our own ocean. That flipped only recently, once a handful of explorers started returning again and again. Which means, for most of human history, the bottom of our own planet was harder to reach than another world. Level 10. The Trench. This is Challenger Deep, the single lowest point on planet Earth. It sits at the southern tip of the Mariana Trench, about 400 kilometers southwest of Guam, 10,935 meters down. In 1960, two men made the very first descent. Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh, sealed inside a steel sphere called the Trieste. Nearly 5 hours going down, 3 hours at the bottom. Outside their porthole, in a place no human had ever seen, they spotted something alive. A flatfish, resting on the seafloor. Proof for the first time that a backboned animal could survive at the deepest point on the planet. More than 50 years passed before anyone went back. In 2012, filmmaker James Cameron piloted a submersible alone to nearly the same spot. In 2019, explorer Victor Vescova went even deeper, and became the first person in history to return more than once. What he found down there should stop you cold. Sitting on the ocean floor, at the single deepest point on Earth, a plastic bag, candy wrappers. At a depth deeper than Mount Everest is tall, humanity's trash had already gotten there first. Here's what that pressure actually does to matter. It's been compared to the weight of 50 jumbo jets, stacked directly on top of your body. Send a styrofoam cup down to that depth, and it doesn't crack. It gets crushed down to the size of a thimble. Even sound behaves differently down here. A noise made at the surface takes roughly 7 seconds just to reach the bottom. Now, rewind to 1997. Somewhere in these waters, hydrophones thousands of kilometers apart picked up a sound unlike anything ever recorded. Ultra-low frequency. Massively loud. Loud enough to register on sensors spaced more than 5,000 kilometers apart, all at the same time. Scientists nicknamed it the bloop. For almost a decade, nobody could explain it. It didn't match any known animal. It was too loud to be a whale. Too structured to be random noise. Some people genuinely wondered if something enormous, something science had never documented, was still down there. In 2005, after years of moving hydrophones closer and closer to Antarctica, NOAA finally found the source. It wasn't alive. It was ice. A massive iceberg cracking away from an Antarctic glacier. Mystery solved. But sit with this for a second. For almost 10 years, humanity's most advanced listening equipment recorded a sound we could not explain. And to this day, we've mapped less than a quarter of the ocean floor in any real detail. That's not ancient history. That's right now. Here's what's worth remembering. We have better maps of the surface of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. The strangest, most hostile place connected to our planet isn't somewhere out there. It's directly beneath every boat that's ever sailed. We just haven't finished looking.